Hello friends, welcome to Smash the Shell. I am Amit Kumar and in this video tutorial I am gonna show you how to create this fully responsive full page navigation menu bar using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Now the special thing about this navigation bar is that we are going to use animated hamburger icon, and best thing is that we have completely built this using CSS. So when you click on this hamburger icon, see how it's turned into close icon, and your items are also coming on the screen one by one, kind of creating a staggering transition effect. So we are going to do everything in this video tutorial that you see right there. You will also learn how to make this responsive without writing a single line of media queries, and that is pretty exciting. So let me show you how it looks right now. When I resize, can you see this? How smoothly text is rendering. And when you click on here, you're gonna also see that how these menus are resizing, and we have all done that without writing a single line of media query. So this video is not only about teaching you how to create this awesome navigation bar, but to also teach you how to use the CSS properties like CSS variables, CSS calc function, CSS transitions and transform, CSS background and lot more. So guys, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you can get much more awesome content like this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. But before that, let me show you what we have right now to get started with. You can see that we have three files: index.html, style.css and script.js. I have linked the style.css right there inside the head element and script.js right there. Now you can see that we have a header inside the body which contains all these three items, an image which represents a logo, an anchor for the hamburger. We can't see anything. Let's go ahead and write menu right there so that you can see it, and nav for the list of the menu items that you see on the browser on the left side, actually on the right side, and you can also see some content right there. Now guys, let's go ahead and move to the CSS file and start writing some styles. Here you can see that I have a root element selector which has a box sizing set to border box, and I have two other variables, primary and secondary, which contains two colors that I will be using throughout this design. Now guys, it's time to go ahead and target the universal selector so that we can write some basic resetting styles. So, and select like this and set its margin to 0 and padding to 0. The reason I'm doing this is that I really don't want that user agent's margins and paddings to conflict with my own margins and padding. So I will be applying my own margins and padding for each of these elements. So one more thing, let's go ahead do that. Write box sizing and set its value to inherit so that it will inherit the same value as this border box from this root pseudo element selector. Now guys, let's go ahead and select the body element or target the body element and set its font family to Brandon Grotesque. And that's what I'm going to use for this tutorial. And if your system doesn't have that font installed, you can use any you want. I'm going to set the fallback to Helvetica and generic sans serif. Also set its font size to 1 rem for now, and that's it guys. Now let's go ahead and target the header element. I'm gonna write header and set its display property to flex, and you're gonna see that all the items that are inside this header are going to become flex items. So let's hit refresh, save, and see what we get here. Alright, so all these three items are displayed as a row. So if you go ahead and set its justify content property to space between, you're gonna see some spaces around them. Now what I want here is that I want this I don't want this link or menu to appear here right now. So let's go to the index.html and simply set its inline style to display none, and we will come back to this later. So for now, let's set it to hidden. Now move to the CSS file again, and what I want here is that I want to apply some padding. So 2 amps of padding is enough. And one more thing, they are not aligned vertically right now, so let's go ahead and do that. Align items to center, and you're gonna see that menu is aligned vertically. Now guys, what I want to do here is that I want to create the hamburger icon. So how we can do that? Let's go to the index file and simply delete this because we don't need this. We are going to build our hamburger from scratch using CSS. So you can see that it has a hamburger class applied here, and we are going to simply target that hamburger, right? And I want to create few CSS variables here for the hamburger. So I'm gonna use hm width 3 amps, hm height 2 amps, actually not 2 amps, 0.4 amps, and let's go ahead and set another variable, call it spacing, that would be used to provide the spacing between 3 lines of hamburger. So I'm gonna calculate this like this, calc, and select the width variable and divide it by 4, and it is going to be used for the spacing. Now guys, let's go ahead and create the actual properties. I'm gonna use width and set its value to hm width, width, like this. I also want to set its height, so I'm gonna use var hm height, like this. And let's set it a background color and set it to var primary. So now that we have applied 3 things, so if you hit save, you're gonna see a line that will appear here. So this is the middle line for the hamburger that we are going to use. Now guys, let's go ahead and create the other 2 lines. So target hamburger, select after, hamburger before, and simply set its content property to null and set its width to 50% of the parent width. Height should be inherit, and maybe let's set it a background color and set it to something like this for now. We will change this later. And set its display property to block. Now you're gonna see that we have 2 other lines appearing. Now guys, they are overlapping. So what we need to do here is that set its position property to absolute, and when you do that, you're gonna see that it is positioned relative to the body element. So what we need to do here is that we need to set the parent element, this hamburger, to position relative. Hit save. Now we are all set. Let's set its top to 0, left to 0, which is already. Hit refresh. Now let's go ahead and target these 2 lines individually. So I can write hamburger after and set its top value to -1 m and target the hamburger before and set its top value to 1 m. Now guys, we have created these two other lines. Since we have already created the variables for the spacing, so I'm going to use this for the spacing. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to replace this 1em with var spacing, and let's do the same for this var spacing. But you're gonna notice that actually this will work fine, but this will disappear. The reason for this is that we have to apply a negative value, but if we do this like this, it's not gonna simply work. So what we have to do here is that we have to use calc function. So let's use the calc function and multiply -1 with the actual spacing variable, and you're gonna get the exact negative value. So now guys, we have created the 3 lines of this hamburger icon. Now it's time to go ahead and move this one to the right. So what we can do is that we can set the left to 50%, and that's all set. So guys, this was pretty exciting. We have created the hamburger icon by simply using CSS and without using a lot of markup to create a hamburger. We have a simple anchor tag with a class of hamburger, and we have created our hamburger. Now guys, let's go ahead and remove this color because I really don't like this color and I want to give it a primary variable color. So let's go ahead and select the primary, and you're gonna see color is going to be changed. Now let's go ahead and create the close icon. So let's go to the index and apply a close class to this hamburger because we are going to toggle between the hamburger and close. So we will need to add a close class here dynamically, but for now we are going to add it statically here by just putting it right there as close. Let's move to the style and let's select the close, change the hamburger selector, select its before and after pseudo element selector, set their actually not width, but what we want here is that we want to bring these two lines in the center of this middle line. So let's do that. We want to set the left to 50%. Now you're gonna see that they are aligned to the right. Now what we need to do that we need to apply a transform property so that we can bring these two lines, the top and bottom one, in the middle of this middle icon, center of that middle icon. So let's go ahead and do that. Apply a transform translate to -50%, and it's gonna bring these two lines into the center. Now guys, I want to give it a rotation. So let's go ahead and give it a rotate value to -90 degree, and you're gonna see that it's going to be converted into a plus symbol or icon like that. And one thing that is important here is that you need to set this rotation after the translation. So if you set like this, it's going to give us a very different result. So that is very important guys. So do it this way, set the translate and then rotate. Now let's go ahead and target the close hamburger without any pseudo element selectors and set its transform property to rotate and set the rotation to 45 degree. As soon as you do that, you're gonna see this close icon. Now we can toggle between these two icons by simply removing or adding this class here like that. So we are going to do this by using JavaScript dynamically. Let's move to the JavaScript file and create a variable hamburger and set its value to document.query selector and set the query to hamburger, so that we can find this element on the DOM. And I want to add an event listener to this hamburger, and on the click event, what I want to create a function in here actually, and I want to add a class. So I will write this dot class list dot toggle, because we want to toggle on and off the close state. So I will write close, and now guys, when you hit refresh and remove that class from here, hit save, now click on this. Now you're gonna see that how dynamically it is working, adding or removing the close class. So guys, let's go ahead and add some transition for this. So go to the hamburger and create a property transition, and I want to add transition property to transform, because that's what we are doing here in the nav. And I want to set its duration to 0.8 second and is in out function. Also, let's do the same for these two other lines. Hit save, and let's go ahead and see how it looks. But what I want here is that I want to rotate it by -450 degree and then see what we get. Interesting. So I really love this kind of effect that is creating by simply applying a different rotation. So guys, now we have finished the work of creating the hamburger icon with a toggle state on and off. Let's move to the index.html file and see what we have. We have now a nav element to style. Let's go ahead and simply remove this style from here so that we can see the nav element, and it will be displayed right after that hamburger menu. The reason for this is that it's contained inside this header. So header is the containing block for this nav. So we are going to remove this from the normal document flow. So let's go to the CSS and simply target the nav element and set its display property to absolute. Oh, it's not display, it's position, sorry. Let's set its position to absolute and hit save. Alright, that's great. It is now removed from the normal document flow. Now what you can do that you can simply apply a background color, and I want to give it a background color of secondary. So let's go ahead and do that. Use the variable secondary and you're gonna see a background. Now let's go ahead and set its left value to 0, top to 0, so that it can fill the whole screen. So right to 0 and bottom to 0. Now it fills the whole screen. Now let's go ahead and center these menu items. So to do that, what I want to do here is that I want to go ahead and set its display property to flex once again, and set its justify content to center, align items to center. Hit save. Now you're gonna see that it has been centered both vertically and horizontally. Now it's time to go ahead and style this. So to do that, I want to target the menu class and set its list style to none. Hit save, and let's go ahead and target the menu items that has been applied to each of that anchor tags that has been written inside this li element. So let's go to the style and set its color to FFF. I want to remove the underline, so I'm gonna write text decoration none, and set its font size of 3 rem and hit save. Now guys, we have got the working or style menu items. Now guys, what I want is that these font sizes should be responsive, or the font sizes that I have applied to this menu items should be responsive, but it is not right now. But how we can do that? We don't want to write any kind of media query, so let's go ahead, and I have a solution for you. Let's go ahead and use the calc function. It's our best friend, and you can simply give it a minimum font size of 1.5 rem, and as you may already know that 1 VW or viewport width is equal to the 1% of the current viewport width. Alright, so when you do that calculation, it's gonna give you the responsive font sizes. So if you resize the window, you're gonna see how these fonts are resizing smoothly. But what I want here is that I want to increase this 1 by, instead of 1 we're gonna give it 2. So now I think it should give us the desired result. Yes, I really like this and how it works. So what I want to do here is that I want to give some margins between these elements. So what we can do here is that we can use the lobotomized selector. Now that may sound weird if you are hearing that for the first time, but it's very easy. Let me show you how it looks. You're gonna simply target the menu class, and inside that we're gonna find the li, and then again we're gonna find its sibling li, and each of that sibling li, after the first li, we want to set their margin top to 1 ems and hit save. Now you're gonna see the spacing or margin between these items. So now that we have styled the link or list for the menu items, now let's go ahead and bring our hamburger on this overlay. So let's go to the hamburger. Where are you? Let's go ahead and create a z index and set its value to 100. Now it's gonna bring that hamburger. Now we want to change the color of the close state on this overlay. So I want to use a white color. So inside this I'm gonna change its background color to white. Also do the same for that state. Hit save. Alright guys, now the final thing that I want to do here is that when I click on this hamburger, I want this menu overlay to swipe or slide from left to right. So let's set up this. Go to the nav element and set its transform property to and translate and set its negative value to 15 amps. So it will kind of send this whole screen back, and I think instead of using the translate, let's go ahead and use the scale, and use the scale, set its x value, scale x to 0, and set its transform origin to left center. Hit save. Now what I want is that when I click on this hamburger icon, it simply comes onto the screen. So let's go ahead and see how it looks. First of all, let's go to the index.html. Inside the nav, set a class, and this class that we are using here is going to be a dynamic class. which means we are going to add this class dynamically by using JavaScript. But for now, let's go ahead and create a class reveal nav, hit save, and move to the CSS again, and here create a reveal nav class and set its transform value to scale x and set it to 1. Now you're gonna see that it is scaled and it is now on the screen. And we need to add some transition here, so let's go ahead and do that. Transition transform 0.3 seconds and is and out. Also, what I want here is that I want to set its opacity to 0 initially, and we will set it to 1 here. And now let's go ahead and give the transition for the opacity also. So let's write opacity, set its opacity to 0.2 seconds, duration, and timing function to is in. Great. So now what we need to do here is that we need to remove this class from here, and we will be doing this dynamically. Let's move to the script.js file, create a variable, call it nav, and select that nav using the document.query selector, write the nav element, and in here actually let's use the consistent quotes, and let's move to this and set nav.classlist.toggle and set it to reveal nav. Now let's go ahead and click on this. You see this? So it is scaling from the center, but we don't want this. Let's move to the CSS and see what's wrong here. Actually we need to set it transform origin, not transform. Now hit save. Now you're gonna see how it's coming into the screen. Alright guys, but what we want is that we also want that our navigation menu items comes on the screen one by one. So how we can do that? We need to use the time delay function, or so time delay transition, and this effect is called staggering animation effect or transition effect. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. First of all, we need to send these icons out of the screen. So what I want to do here, I simply want to select these items, individual items. So I can simply write menu item, and I think we have already created this selector, so let's move to that, this one here, and set its transform value to translate, and I want to set it to -20 ms, and I also want to set its opacity to to 0 and translate to -20 ms. Hit save. You're gonna see that has been disappeared from the screen. Now we want to bring them back when I click on this hamburger icon. So how to do that? Now once again go to the index.html file. This time we're gonna add another class and call it reveal items, and this class is going to be added inside the menu class, and this is also going to be added by JavaScript dynamically. So what we need to do here is that leave it here for now, move to the CSS, and here call reveal items and set its transform property to translate and say 0, and set its opacity to back to 1. Hit refresh, save, and click here. And what we want here is that we want to target the reveal items, then the menu item. Now hit save. Now you're gonna see they are brought back. Alright guys, so guys, let's go ahead and add some transition to see how it looks. So let's go ahead and add the transition and set its value to transform and duration to 8 seconds, and also let's give it a timing function to ease in out. Let's do the same for the opacity, 0.3 seconds is in, like that. Hit save. Now my friends, to bring these items on the screen one by one, we have to set time delay value to each of these items individually so that we can create a staggering transition effect. So what you can do here is that you can use the reveal items class, then you can say li, alright, and then target its nth child, which means, and then first child, and inside that we're gonna look for the menu item, like that. And then we can go ahead and add the transition delay and set its value to 0.1 seconds. Now let's go ahead and repeat this for all the other values. So we have 5 items, so let's change it to 2, 2, 3, 3, it's not 31, 4, 4, 4, and 4. Hit save. Actually it's 5. Alright, now you still you will not be able to see any kind of transition because we have already added that class here. Let's go ahead and remove it from here and add it dynamically using JavaScript. Now once again, go ahead and create a const variable called menu. Select the menu using the query selector, like that, and inside this event listener called menu.classList, and toggle the class that we have created, that is reveal items. Hit save. Now let's go back to CSS. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and click here, and suddenly we cannot see anything and something went wrong. Let's find out what. First of all, what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna right click here and look at the console. Here we find that it says type error, cannot read property class list of null. Well, let's move to the JavaScript and check out the line 8. It's saying menu.classList toggle reveal items. To me it's look good. Let's go back. Here everything looks fine. Oh, I forgot to include the menu class, so you need to write menu like this. Now the error has gone. Let's close this and go to the style.css and hit save. And again, when you click on this, you're gonna find that these menu items are appearing one by one, but they are not translating from left to right. So let's go ahead and see what's wrong with our CSS. Well, if you look at the menu items, you're gonna see that we have applied a transform of translate 20 ems. So why this isn't working? Since menu item is a inline element, we need to set its display property to block, and you're gonna see that everything will start working fine. So let's click on this. See, wow, this is amazing. So now you can see that how your items are appearing on the screen one by one, and this is called a staggering transition effect, where your items are going to come on the screen one by one with some time overlapping. So this is it guys for this full screen navigation bar, and you're gonna see how it's look on the full screen. So when you resize the browser, you're gonna see that everything is responsive like that. And now let's go ahead and style this content. But for the navigation part, everything has been finished. So guys, if you like this video, please go ahead and like this video, comment your thoughts in the comment section of this video, and please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you can get some more contents like this direct into your inbox. And don't forget to ring that bell icon or tap that bell icon. Thank you. And if you want to continue this video, you can see how we are going to style this content both vertically and horizontally in this viewport, and we are going to use the calc function to exactly set the viewport height of this element. So let's go ahead and target the main element, and I'm going to do this very quickly. So I'm going to target the main element and going to set its width to 100 VW and set its height to 100 VH. I want to give it a background to, let's go ahead and set its primary variable, so primary, and I also want to give it a background image, so I can go ahead and do that like this and set its URL to an image address. So let's go ahead and find an image address. So I am going to go to the pixels and let's search for landscape. Let's go ahead and find the image. I want to use this one. Right click on this, copy the image address, paste it here, and you need to set some other background properties. So I don't want to repeat the image, and I also want to set its position to center, and also let's set its size to kind of cover, and hit save. Now let's go to the index.html preview, and you're gonna see we have applied the background image. Now let's go ahead and set the exact viewport height for this element. So what I'm gonna do here is that I wanna find the header height. You're gonna see that there's a 32 pixel of padding on both top and bottom, and 42.988 is the height of that header elements that is inside the header. So we need to kind of combine all these three values to get the exact height of this header, and we wanna kind of reduce that amount of height from the actual height of this main element. So let's use the calc, and we need to reduce the value, that is 106.988 pixels, and hit save. Now you're gonna see that the scroll bars will be disappeared, and you can also convert this into amps, so that will be 6.668, and hit save. Amps. Alright, so let's go ahead and quickly center this text. So I'm gonna use the Flexbox once again. So I'm gonna write display flex, and set its justify content items to center and hit save, and justify content also to center. Actually it's not justify items, it's align items. And now you're gonna see that has been centered both horizontally and vertically. You can go ahead and target the main section and set its width to 80%, give it a color of white, margin to auto, hit save, text align to center. Alright guys, let's go ahead and set the font size for the heading. So section H1 and set its font size to kind of calc 3 rem plus 1. Actually let's go with 2 rem plus 2.5 VW, hit save, and I want to give it a margin bottom of 0.5 amps. That would be nice. And let's reduce the size a bit, so maybe 1.5 is the minimum size. Let's go ahead and style the paragraph. So section paragraph and set its font size to again calc, this time 0.9 rem plus 1 VW, and hit save. Now if you go ahead and resize the browser, you're gonna see everything in this page is responsive, and we have achieved that by using no media queries at all. So this is guys, this is how we have created our responsive full screen navigation bar, and you can see that our hamburger is also animated. So guys, please go ahead and like this video if you like the video, and also go ahead subscribe to the channel for getting much more useful content like this directly into your inbox, and go ahead and tap on the bell icons when you subscribe. Thank you for watching the video. See you soon in my next video.